The waiter had just set down our plates when she said it. No hesitation, no warning, just a clean slice straight through the evening. I'm keeping my apartment after the wedding. Celia twirled her wine glass as if the words were harmless, something to sip on. Around us, the restaurant hummed with soft jazz and clinking silverware. To anyone watching, we must have looked like the perfect couple. For years together, engagement rings glinting under the warm light, the kind of pair people rooted for. But across that table, the air thickened. I set my fork down carefully. Why? She smiled, almost sheepish but not enough. It's practical. If things don't work out, I'll have a place to land. The first crack in the facade. Small but loud. I studied her face, how calmly she said it, how sure she seemed. Like she was explaining fire exits in a building, not planning a marriage. Insurance, she added, leaning forward as though I were a slow student. You don't expect to crash your car, but you keep coverage. Same thing. The irony? That very morning, I'd been on the phone with our realtor, chasing the dream house she'd been pinning, saving, and obsessing over for months. The white porch, the sunlight kitchen, the rooms she'd already assigned names to: nursery, office, guest suite. And now here she was, sipping Cabernet, talking about divorce like it was an overdue bill. I nodded once, slowly. My chest was hot, but my voice stayed calm. Smart thinking. Her shoulders relaxed, as if the test had been passed. She tapped my hand and laughed lightly. I knew you'd understand. You always see the bigger picture. The bigger picture. Outside, headlights streaked across the windowpane, brief flashes of movement in the night. For a moment I imagined our future in that house: holidays, fights, reconciliations, 1,000 small moments stitched into something solid. Then, just as quickly, I imagined the silence of her empty apartment waiting in the wings, a standing reminder that her faith in us had an asterisk. I raised my glass, clinked hers gently, and forced a smile. To smart plans. Inside, though, a decision had already begun to take shape. The next morning, sunlight spilled across my desk as I stared at the realtor's number glowing on my phone. The contract for the house sat half-printed beside me, her dream in black ink, waiting for my signature. For months I'd imagined sliding those keys into her palm. Now, all I could see was the exit sign she'd built into our vows before we'd even spoken them. I pressed call. Ryan. Janine's voice was brisk, professional, already warmed by victory. The sellers are leaning your way. Add 15 and I think we close this week. I should have felt exhilaration. Instead, I felt something heavier. A dull thud in my chest. Plans changed, I said. Silence sharp. I'm sorry. We're withdrawing the offer. Janine sputtered, as though I'd spat in church. But this is the house. She's talked about nothing else. Did something go wrong with the inspection? No inspection. Just reconsidering my options. She tried again, softer this time, like coaxing a child. Ryan, couples get cold feet. It's normal. Don't throw away a home you both love over nerves. Cold feet. The phrase echoed. Maybe that's what Celia would tell people. Maybe that's what her mother would whisper when my name came up at bridal showers. But the truth was colder than nerves. It was certainty. Thanks, Janine. I appreciate everything. When the line clicked dead, I sat in the quiet. The hum of the printer, the faint noise of traffic outside, the weight of a decision only I knew had been made. I called Kyle next, an old college buddy who managed properties. He answered on the second ring, voice groggy. You still got that loft? I asked. The bachelor special? His tone lifted with surprise. Thought you were house hunting with Celia. Change of plans. Can I see it today? The loft was a stark contrast to the suburban sprawl of our supposed dream home. Concrete walls, open floor plan, high windows that cut light into geometric shards. One bedroom. One office. Space for no one but me. The lease slid across the table. My hand didn't hesitate as the pen scratched my name. That night, when Celia called from her lunch break, Her voice was bright with expectation. So? Did you call Janine? I leaned back in the bare echo of my new place. I did. And? I withdrew the offer. Silence stretched, heavy and sharp. Then, you what? She showed up unannounced. No polite knock, no text. Just the frantic buzz of the doorbell, and then Celia, storming in with her work badge still clipped to her blouse, hair coming loose from its bun. You can't be serious. Her eyes darted around the loft, taking in the stripped-down furniture and bare walls. This is where you expect me to live? I leaned against the counter, arms folded. It's not where we live. It's where I live. You already said you'd be keeping your apartment. Her jaw tightened. As a backup. Not as my home. You knew what I meant. I knew exactly what you meant. The silence that followed wasn't quiet. It pulsed, alive, like an invisible crowd holding its breath. You're being petty, she snapped finally. I made one practical choice, and you turned it into this. She gestured wildly at the concrete walls, the high windows, the hollow echo of my footsteps. Petty? I asked. You told me you wanted insurance against our marriage. You don't buy a parachute if you plan on landing safely. Her lip trembled, but her voice was steady. I'm protecting myself. Do you know how many women end up blindsided? My mother stayed home for 20 years, then Dad left, and she had nothing. I won't be her. There it was. The wound beneath the armor. For a moment, compassion pricked through my anger. But just as quickly, the scales tipped back. So, instead, you want me to buy a house, shoulder the mortgage, while you keep your lifeboat tied up in the harbor. That's not protection, Celia. That's planning your escape. Her hands balled into fists. You're twisting this. I love you. I want to marry you. But I need to know I'll be okay if I betray you? I finished. If life happens, she whispered. The words landed heavier than a scream. Because in them was the admission that she didn't trust me, not fully, not enough to bet everything. She turned away, pacing, her heels striking the floor like a metronome of panic. We can fix this. We'll get the house, I'll keep my apartment, you'll see, it'll make sense. I exhaled slowly. No, Celia. It already makes sense. Just not the way you think. For the first time in 4 years, she looked at me like I was a stranger. The first wave came through her mother. Ryan, sweetheart. Patricia said on the phone, her voice dipped in honey but edged with steel. Celia tells me you're confused. This loft nonsense? That isn't you. It's exactly me. I said evenly. A practical choice. But darling, marriage is compromise. She wants security. You love her. Surely you can see past this little misunderstanding. It wasn't little, and I wasn't confused. But I bit my tongue, offered a polite goodbye, and hung up. Then came the friends. They cornered me at the gym, 3 against 1 by the water fountain. She's devastated. Haley insisted, hands on hips. You're ruining everything over nothing. Nothing? I asked. She wants me to buy a house while she keeps her escape hatch. How is that nothing? Because women need options. Britt snapped. It's different for us. Different how? I challenged. Does my security matter less? Their silence was answer enough. They left, muttering, and I felt the circle close tighter. By the end of the week, it wasn't just whispers. It was pressure. Friends. Family. Even our realtor called back, gently urging me to reconsider. Each conversation painted me as stubborn, unloving, afraid. And each one left me colder. But at night, when the loft went quiet, the doubt crept in. I'd pace between the bare walls, picturing her scrolling through house listings with wet eyes, telling people I'd abandoned her. Was I punishing her for being cautious? Was I sabotaging something worth saving? I'd see her face in the restaurant, that little smile of relief when I first said, "Smart thinking." I remembered why I'd said it, because I wanted to keep her calm, because I loved her enough to bite back the storm building in my chest. And maybe, just maybe, I still loved her enough to wonder if I was wrong. But then I'd hear her words again, sharp as glass, just in case. The phrase followed me everywhere, a shadow across every thought. Marriage wasn't supposed to have an escape plan built into the foundation. And if hers did, then maybe mine had to, too. The pressure was mounting, the voices closing in, but beneath all of it, one truth grew louder: this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the blueprint of the life she wanted. And I wasn't sure I could live in it. She didn't come alone this time. When the knock rattled my loft door, I opened it to find Celia flanked by her father, Robert. Broad-shouldered, contractor's hands, the kind of man who measured respect in mortgages and calluses. Celia stood behind him, eyes rimmed red, playing fragile. "Ryan," Robert said, voice firm enough to shake drywall. "This has gone far enough." I stepped aside. They entered like a storm front. "My daughter is heartbroken," he continued, pacing my living room as if he owned it. "You're going to buy a house, marry her, and stop this nonsense about separate apartments." "No," I said simply. Celia gasped, as if the word itself had cut her. Robert's face darkened. "Excuse me? Your daughter asked me to build a future while she kept a safety net for its collapse. That's not partnership. That's foresight," Robert barked. "Smart women protect themselves." "And smart men?" I asked. "We're supposed to foot the bill for a dream while our partners plan their escape?" Celia broke then, voice high, desperate. "I just wanted security. Is that so wrong? Do you have any idea what it's like to watch your mother get left with nothing?" Her tears blurred, but her words struck clean. For a moment, I wanted to hold her, to promise her safety, to erase the fear that lived in her bones. But I couldn't. Because she wasn't asking me for love. She was asking me to underwrite her doubts. "You didn't ask me to be your partner," I said quietly. "You asked me to be your insurance policy." She shook her head violently. "No, I love you, I want, then trust me. Trust us. Give up the apartment." The silence stretched until even Robert's breathing seemed too loud. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. And then, "I can't." 3 words. A verdict. I felt it land in my chest like a final hammer strike. The blueprint was shattered, the house she dreamed of reduced to rubble in the space between us. I took a step back. "Then we're done." Her sob caught in her throat. Robert cursed under his breath. But the room didn't shake, and the world didn't end. It just grew very, very still. And in that stillness, for the first time, I felt free. 2 weeks before the wedding, the venue sent a polite email, a reminder of final payments, seating charts, floral arrangements. I stared at the screen until the words blurred, then deleted it. There would be no wedding, no vows, no dream house dressed in white paint and Pinterest boards. Just silence where a future had once been rehearsed. Celia tried to rewrite the story. Mutual decision, amicable parting, no villains. But stories have a way of leaking truth. Her sister slipped on social media, her friends whispered at bars, and soon everyone knew. Some said I was cruel, others said she was foolish, most just shook their heads as if divorce had already happened. In a way, it had, before the marriage ever began. I thought the end would feel like collapse. Instead, it felt like release. The loft, bare and echoing, slowly took shape around me, a bookshelf lined with paperbacks, a bicycle propped by the window, coffee mugs stacked carelessly in the sink. Not a palace, not a dream house, but mine. Every corner mine. Celia's texts came in waves. Accusations first, then bargaining, then brittle nostalgia. The apartment's too expensive. I had to sell the car. My dad won't help. This is your fault. Each message tugged at the remnants of our bond, daring me to feel guilty. But I didn't. Not anymore. One evening, I biked home at dusk, the city humming with its endless, indifferent rhythm. I passed rows of houses, lights glowing in tidy kitchens, silhouettes of couples moving inside. Once, those images would have cut me open with envy. That night they didn't. I knew now that walls and roofs mean nothing without trust inside them. At home, I poured a glass of water, opened the window, and let the night air settle across the room. The city stretched out beneath me, infinite and alive, every street a reminder that there are countless ways to build a life. Celia had wanted insurance. What I wanted was belief. When someone shows you what they value most, you have to decide if you can live inside that truth. She showed me she valued the exit more than the entrance. I believed her. And believing her saved me.